Hello, Patrick Taylor. I am Daniel Abity, and we are live from Mr. Curran's room to bring you one of the greatest pieces of digital media thought up, the first ever episode of Wordin With Curran. Our first guest ever is one of the most revered men in Louisiana, nay, the country, Grand Marshal of PFTSTA, Thomas Curran. How do you feel today, Mr. Curran?
I feel great after that introduction.
All right, so this podcast is starring Mr. Curran, but we don't know where this is going to take us, but let's live in the present and start the podcast. Mm-hmm. All right, so this first episode is going to be all about you, and explain to the folks at home who might not have had your class or have your class what you do here at Patrick Taylor.
Okay, well, I'm currently teaching English 2 honors. It's with 9th graders. And next semester I'll be teaching AP English Language and Composition.
All right. So now we can get into the questions that we have gotten from students who have had your class and who would like to know more about you. All right. So this is more of a general question. What has your reaction been to your popularity with the students that have had you? Because you've been elected Grand Marshal twice in a row.
Yes, I'm dismayed. Well, I don't really know what the criteria is.
Obviously, you're doing something right, and you're popular because of it. What do you think you're doing right that they like you for?
Maybe, well, probably two. There are probably two reasons. Maybe one, the connection that I make with my students.
Of course.
That plays a role.
Yeah, definitely.
And also my passion for the subject.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I love literature.
Yeah. If you don't like what you're teaching, I don't think the students would enjoy it either.
Yeah, and I think it would be apparent to the students.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, this is probably you expected this question. What is your favorite book or author? And, this is probably, hard to narrow down to. You must have read hundreds of books. So, just in general, what has some of your favorite books been?
My favorite author at the moment is John Banville. Mm-hmm. He's an Irish writer. I just love his writing style. I love his narrative structure and the way he develops characters.
So what kind of books does he write? Like realistic fiction? Or?
No, they're works of non-fiction.
Oh, really?
And one common theme in his work, I think, is identity. Struggle for identity and
purpose?
Purpose, yes, and memory, the role of memory. Because many of the protagonists are looking back at their early years. Mm-hmm. And of course they're questioning some of the decisions that they've made, but they're also questioning how reliable the memory is.
Mm-hmm. Like questioning what you once thought.
Yes.
All right. What is the worst book you've ever read?
I think the worst book I read was Ivanhoe, read that in high school.
What grade?
That was going into my freshman year of high school. I probably threw it across my bedroom 5 or 6 times just to pick it up, try to bang out another 5 pages. Eventually I got through it.
Yeah, so it's hard to read or hard to understand or?
I don't know. I struggled from the first page.
Oh, jeez. Was your time in high school, was it generally positive or negative or a mix of both? How do you think back on your high school years?
Not a great deal of nostalgia. I went to an inner city parochial school that was very structured, and really the goal was to prepare for college.
Yeah.
So the goal was always, what is the next step? What is the next step? So I was always focused on college.
Yeah.
It wasn't really about enjoying.
Yeah, your youth, your prime.
Yeah.
Have any advice for kids in high school?
Enjoy your time. Don't think too much about the future.
Okay. Your everyday life. Do you have a routine structure, or is it just you take it one step at a time?
I get up early. I get up very early in the morning. I get up early. I exercise. Take about 30 minutes to sort of reflect on the previous day. I really take my time in the morning. I don't get up,
That's
get
good.
dressed and run up.
Yeah, I'm waking up at like 5:40. You have 10 minutes to get ready. 5:50, get on the bus, and then off
Read
to
the
school.
newspaper.
Yeah, I don't have time for that. I don't do that.
So yeah, generally I get up around 4 o'clock in the morning. Have a light breakfast, exercise, meditate for a bit.
But
Think about what I need to do.
you've told me before that you had some trouble with meditating.
Okay, you want
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
So I've tried a more structured approach to transcendental meditation, but I can't get past the first step, which is to let your mind go.
Yeah.
Let your mind go. And I follow the breathing exercises, and then I do find my mind wandering, and just a lot of random thoughts, entering my head, and that's referred to as the monkey mind. Now we got a big kick out of that.
It's just it's like seeing you. You're just like in a nice relaxed state, and then inside your mind is just monkey. That's crazy.
So I think that's true of all people. So these ideas just have bouncing around in your head.
Right.
And eventually you're supposed to come back and focus.
Right.
That's your next goal.
That's my next goal, yes. Reining in the monkey. From what I've been taught, he said, just give the monkey a banana.
Aw.
And it's strange because you're a Pisces. It's just
All right, well, we can save the zodiacs for later.
Zodiac.
We have a
Alright.
section dedicated to that. Now, this is more of a personal preference question. Have you ever thought about growing a beard?
Yes, I actually attempted to grow a beard once. In college, my friends and I had a contest.
Get the bushiest beard? Yeah.
Who can grow the thickest beard? And I gave up after, I think, 3 days, which is too itchy.
I respect that.
So you shave every day?
I appreciate it.
All right. Well, I
On
was
the weekends.
Well, I was shaving 2 days ago because I wanted to look nice for this, even though it's not being filmed. And I was shaving down my neck, and I cut my Adam's apple, and it was bad. I mean, there's apple juice everywhere. All right, that's just a little bit of light
A little
humor.
warm up.
Any thoughts about anything that's ever happened that you think, you might think differently from everybody else? Like conspiracy theories. We were talking about this. You ever, not necessarily believe, but say, well, maybe there's something there that, people aren't looking at. Anything like that?
Believe in aliens?
Yes, life outside of the planet Earth. Yeah.
Like someone might say, anything you have those old gritty videos of the flying saucer coming across, careening across the sky. You think any of that might have some truth to it, or?
I do.
All right.
I had a science teacher in high school who promoted that theory. That
Really?
Life beyond Earth.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
respected him. So.
Right, yeah.
I mean, there's so much of it, and it's either people trying to become famous through the internet or whatever, or that's kind of how we think about it sometimes, and we don't really, maybe take it seriously every now and then and say, well, maybe something's there, because most professionals will generally try to dismiss it as it didn't happen, or it's fake or hoax or whatever. If you could live anywhere besides where you live now, where would it be?
Not
Any
Mars.
country, any landscape.
Ireland. It's
What?
beautiful there. It's beautiful. My family's from the western part of the country, and I've had the opportunity to visit over the past 2 years.
That's good. That's good.
So, plan is to return every summer.
Oh, that's.
So I plan to return this summer.
So your father, he was born in Ireland?
Yeah, both of my parents were born in Ireland.
And they moved to the United States. So most of your family probably lives in Ireland.
Yeah, I have countless cousins in Ireland.
Y'all ever have those big dinners?
Get-togethers and.
Well, we usually, I went back last November during Thanksgiving for a wedding. So I had the opportunity to meet cousins who I hadn't talked to in years. So it's really fascinating.
I know what it's like when you get a reunion and then they're all saying, "Oh, you don't know me."
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you ever had that experience where you found someone you're like, are you even related to me?
Right. That happened once. I had one big, because one of my great uncles was because he was 80th birthday or something, and I went. My dad took me, and there's hundreds of people there, and all sharing my last name. That I I could pass you up on the street and I wouldn't know who you are. It was very almost surreal. All these people, we're all connected through blood, but I don't know any of them, and that it was an experience.
So was there any other Currans there?
Oh, yes.
Oh man, it's crazy thing there's more than one Curran out there.
Any
On my mother's side of the family, I have about 10 cousins.
10 cousins, so there's 5 sisters?
Yeah, and they're all about my age too, which is really interesting to look at the career paths that they've taken. And there are actually a lot of parallels. There were a few teachers in the mix.
Really?
Yeah.
Any English teachers?
One of my cousins, taught the Gaelic language in high school.
Really?
And I have an aunt who teaches Gaelic studies at Trinity College.
Mm-hmm. Is it English the dominant language there?
No,
It's Gaelic. Yeah.
Gaelic is the national language.
Right. I wasn't sure if it was secondary or because the British occupied Ireland for a long time, tried to integrate Ireland into a British speaking or English speaking part of it.
There's been a renaissance of sorts. It's compulsory now.
Right.
In high school, students have to take 2 years.
Well, that's good.
Gaelic.
Yeah.
Beautiful language.
Sure.
Would you like me to say something again?
Yes.
Kid Mefortia.
What'd you say?
Welcome.
Welcome, Kid
Mefortia.
Wow, but I thought you said you didn't know.
I only know a few phrases,
Okay.
but I'm trying to.
You're trying?
You can get your way around in Ireland, right? Do most people speak English, or is it Gaelic and English?
Both my parents are from. It's Gaelic.
Okay.
People speak Gaelic exclusively.
And your
When
parents?
I was home for Thanksgiving, I was in a room with some relatives, and an uncle came in, and he said that Kid Mefortia, and that was it. That was all.
Disconnect,
That's all
yeah.
I could pick up on. And my father explained to him that I didn't speak Gaelic, and he did not slide into English for my benefit. He continued speaking in Gaelic.
Wow.
His attitude was, I should know the language.
Yeah. Besides Gaelic, have you ever tried to learn any other language?
No, I spent some time in Central America, and I was lucky I was with someone who was fluent in Spanish.
Right.
What parts did you travel?
I traveled all through Central America.
Did
Traveled down the Pan American Highway.
Wow.
Did you go to any islands?
Belize. I was in Belize.
Oh yeah.
They speak English in Belize.
They do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
That's good.
you could speak there.
Yeah, I can speak English there, but in Costa Rica, El Salvador, Nicaragua, I relied heavily on my friends.
Your guide, yeah. Some people say that English is the world's hardest language, but for me personally, it's the easiest language for me. Do you think, compared to other languages, because of course we all know we can all speak English, but compared to another language like Gaelic or Spanish, do you think it might be easier for someone to pick up on than transition to English?
Because I think there are so many influences on the English language. I think that in itself makes it hard. For every rule of the English language, there are 5 exceptions to that rule.
Right.
So, I wouldn't envy someone trying to learn the English language.
Yeah. When we were in your class, you brought up that you were once on a debate club, or a debate team or club or something like that?
No.
I sponsored a debate team.
You would never be in a debate club.
No.
When I asked you, man, Mr. Crenshaw did a debate club, and you said something like, "When you're ready to be destroyed." And that from then on, I never wanted to join a debate club. So have you seen?
I think I owe that to the students because nothing can prepare you for your first debate.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can have all those little mock debates in the comfort of at Patrick Taylor, but it's very different when you
Oh,
face
yeah,
another
Yeah,
school.
and they make you
Pressure.
learn both sides of the argument, and then they
Yes.
pick at random
Yeah, we
which
debate
side you
public
debate.
forum.
Oh,
So over the course of the evening, students will debate on the pro and the con of an issue. In character.
oh, yeah,
yeah.
like people
That's
constantly
telling.
saying you're wrong. That's all it is for how long. However, how long did you ever watch any debates like live? Since you
Oh
sponsored.
yes. When we go to debate, we compete at Newman, Holy Cross, Ben Franklin, Mount Carmel. So each public forum debate is 30 minutes. So over the course of a weekend, like say for example Friday night, students will go through 4 rounds.
Wow.
And then Saturday's another 3 rounds, and
Right.
then we start the elimination.
Sounds exhausting.
What's
It is exhausting.
the farthest you've gotten? Like, are there nationals for it?
Yes, but our students can't compete really at the national. In order to compete at the national level, I mean, you need to really you need to go to debate camp. It's pretty intense. Those are the future leaders of the world.
Oh, yeah, politicians.
Yeah, politicians.
Right.
People who are being groomed for that life.
Right, shooting down other arguments and stuff like that. What would you consider your greatest accomplishment? A certain accomplishment that you're very proud on, like you look back and you're like, I think I did a good job.
Baking cookies.
Renovating my house after Katrina. Returning to my house after Katrina. That was an accomplishment.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Just getting through the bureaucracy.
Oh, yeah. Where'd you evacuate to when Katrina happened?
After Katrina, we immediately went to Lafayette. Then we went to Tennessee.
Smoky Mountains.
Yes, around the Smoky Mountains. Then I went to Boston.
Did you visit family
I
there?
visited family and tried to figure out, my next steps. Then I came back.
Wow.
Was your
that's
house
inspiring.
completely just
Demolished?
Yes.
That's tough. Yeah,
Did you like cut up wood, make a whole new house?
Lincoln log kind of.
No, we gutted the house to the studs, and then it was just a total renovation from roof,
Yeah.
siding, all of it. New plumbing, new electrical, new floors, new everything. It was like a 95% renovation. So yeah, I would say that was probably my greatest accomplishment.
Wow. Yeah. Allie, where was your parents in?
Yeah, they went somewhere. I think they went to Texas.
Yeah.
Then they had me, so they had to pretty much come back here.
Yeah.
Because my family lived here, but like Mr. Curran, I don't know, for some reason they came back. I don't know why.
Family. I think that's probably the biggest part of it.
I mean, so that's why you came back, or why did you come back for Louisiana? You just felt like.
I wasn't willing to walk away everything that I'd worked for.
Right. My family, when we were living here, we moved to Georgia. Like, it was nice. It was a nice house, nice scenery, but it was in like the middle of nowhere in Georgia. It was like probably like 30 minutes from Atlanta, and I stayed there for a year. I have a couple memories of that, and then we moved back for multiple reasons. But I think the two biggest was the culture here, because it's like Georgia. The place we were staying was nice. It was like a nice, part of Georgia. But it was like, it's just there was the Walmart and the school we went to, and that was like it. But in New Orleans, there's so much history and so much culture. It's a melting pot, and I guess my parents wanted us to be surrounded by that. And it's also the family that hadn't moved to Georgia, and you don't want to have to. It can be a little hard to only see your parents or family. Extended family like once a year. So I think those were the two reasons why we moved back to New Orleans. You worked at other schools before Patrick Taylor. How do they compare and contrast to Patrick Taylor?
Very different environment. My first teaching position was in New Orleans, and that was a school that was saddled with really insurmountable problems.
Yeah.
There were just too many issues affecting the school. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot from those kids.
Yeah. Was it your first job teaching?
That was my first teaching position, yes.
How young were you when you started teaching?
So I was in my late 20s.
Fresh out of college, it seems.
No, I had
No?
a couple of years.
So what'd you do before?
You get out of college when you're like 25.
I know, but maybe like 8 years of education.
You
never
get a
hurt anyone.
doctorate in the English language.
So I worked in advertising for a bit, and believe it or not, I actually worked in the financial sector.
That's right. You told us a story about you were in this giant like office kind of, and you saw the people, the rat race. Everybody wants the promotion, like the 2% promotion, and then you're like, I got to get out of here.
I realized that just about everyone else in that office was more motivated.
Yeah, and for, money and career and prestige and stuff like that. And you wanted more out of your job than that.
I wanted more than a corner office.
Yeah. All right. If you just won $1 million, Mr. Curran, how are you going to spend it?
I'd probably just travel.
Really?
Yes.
I'd probably just travel till it ran out.
Not even. What about Paris, China?
Yeah, Europe. Maybe I would probably start in Europe.
Yeah. Start in Ireland?
Oh yeah.
No, because then I would. I'd build a house.
You can build a condo.
And settle down.
Yeah. Buy as many books as you want, and then it's a nice life. Nice life.
What about
Ireland
your
is
cats,
beautiful.
though? Your cats. Would you bring them with you?
We'd have to find a place for the cats.
$1 million.
Cats don't
for your
travel
cats?
well. Cats
No.
do not travel
Yeah.
well. I've learned that.
I've seen cats at airports just screaming.
Yeah, I would never do that. Why? What would you do with $1 million?
I think, well, if at my current age, I couldn't do too much, but definitely travel when I could. Put it into college, the amount that I would have to, and save it. Maybe try to help my parents out, however I could, if they needed it. And travel is, I think that's probably, top 5 on everyone's list is, see as much as you can. What about you?
That wasn't. I don't know. Whenever I get that, my first thing is charity, and then I feel like my second emotion would be regret because I just gave up $1 million. But I don't know. I think that's the best way to do it.
Like you said, one kid, you saw a kid in Massachusetts, and he was reading a book, like Tolstoy or something.
It was Chekhov.
Yeah. And it was in Russian. It was in Cyrillic, and he was reading. It was like, and you were like, "Oh, are you Russian? Are you Russian? Is your family Russian?" I was like, "No, I just learned Russian to read it in the language of origin to catch something that might not be there in the English translation." What is favorite Russian novel that you've read and has made you really think?
Probably Anna Karenina.
My mom was telling me about how she read that book as a teenager, and she said it was like her favorite book of all time, and she said it is, and I haven't read it now.
Memorable characters.
Yeah.
Tragic. I mean, it's a tragic story.
Right.
Chekhov is certainly my favorite Russian writer.
Yeah.
I love his short stories.
Right.
Just the humanity of the stories.
Yeah. I think the Russian and probably I haven't read much Irish literature, but they're probably very down to earth, very kind of practical, everyday struggles, and that's what I saw in Crime and Punishment.
It's about Irish stories are really about the relationships between characters. Every character is important in an Irish story. There are no minor characters.
What book would you recommend?
In Irish, the story of Lucy Galt by William Trevor. It's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
It's about a young girl who doesn't really understand what's going on. This is like the 1920s Ireland, and this is when this is about 5 years after the Rising, and Lucy Galt's family, they're Anglo-Irish. They're, from the Irish point of view, they're basically English. Just happened to be in Ireland for generations. And the father is concerned about the safety of the family, so he decides to move back to England. And young Lucy doesn't want to go. And he never really explained to her why they're leaving. She thinks it's kind of an impulsive decision. She has no idea what's really going on in the minds of the adults. So she decides that she's going to hide in the woods, and that will be enough to keep the family there. But when the parents go looking for her, they see some of her clothes on the beach. And due to some unfortunate circumstances, they believe that she drowned. And then they realize there's nothing keeping them in Ireland. so they leave. And then World War I sets in, and when you discover Lucy, that Lucy hadn't drowned, that she's actually been hiding, you can't contact the parents. It's a sad, beautiful story. We read it in British literature.
Wow. All right. On that happy note, what's your favorite joke?
Probably something simple. I don't know.
You don't know?
I can't think of a joke off.
All right. Are you into comedians, like stand-up comedians, or my problem with stand-up comedians today is that they have to be raunchy to get like attention, and like they have to make dirty jokes, to be taken seriously. But like a simple joke with kind of like a wholesome, honest can still be funny, but it's not gonna get the same reaction if you were to curse or say something dirty in it. But do you like any certain comedians or their stand-up or whatever?
Probably no contemporary. I can't think of a contemporary comedian, but I think Stephen Wright is funny.
Yeah.
One of the presidents, they used to have like a drawer of note cards of jokes.
There's Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. I don't know if you're the type of guy with note cards or jokes, but Daniel is.
I think public speakers like to begin with a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Ronald Reagan was also an actor for most of his life, so he knew how to put on a show, and
I could see you as an actor, Mr. Curran.
maybe shop like a bookstore owner, giving exposition and some narrative to the main character or something. What's your favorite movie? Because you used to talk about movies in English class, and do you watch a lot of movies?
No, I don't. Probably Jaws.
Wow.
Oh, wow, Mr. Curran. That's
like
a horror film.
It's like not slow burn horror, but tension.
Yeah, the music really adds. John Williams from the Boston Symphony Orchestra really changed the whole perspective of that film.
It's iconic. It's iconic
It
music.
is. Yeah, there are some great lines.
I was gonna say it's the graphics that usually reminds me of the movie, but the music.
I haven't watched it. I've watched like the trailer of it, and I'm like, I'm not big into horror movies or scary. I can't stand it. I don't like the feeling of being scared or like disgusted or whatever in a horror movie.
I don't know. I just find it entertaining. I think it's because it probably reminds me a lot of summers in Massachusetts. Going to Martha's Vineyard.
Where is it set? It's on the east. Is it on the east or west coast?
Yeah, well, it's a fictional island, Amity, but it's really Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
And we would go there when I was younger, so it was nice to see the scenes. But probably, if I was to say like my favorite movie, Citizen Kane is probably my favorite.
I watched Citizen Kane. It's like, how long is it? 2 hours and like 20 minutes or something.
It's a
like
long movie.
Right, and I watched it, and I'm like, and then it gets to the end, and I'm like, I like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, there's meaning in that, but I don't understand what the meaning is. And then at the end, Rosebud is on fire, and I'm like, so what? He liked the slut a lot, and what's your take on Citizen Kane?
Well, I admire Orson Welles for going forward. I mean, he went against William Randolph Hearst, who did everything in his power to quash the film. But it's not so much the storyline. The cinematography is fascinating.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of stuff we take for granted today, but at that time, they were first.
Yeah.
Yeah, try watching the film through like a cinematographer's eyes, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, there's a movie called A Nation Is Born. It's an old black and white. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
It's old black and white silent film about the KKK, and it's
The Birth of a Nation is called.
Right, and it's a very like racist film. But it's, if you look on like reviews for like Rotten Tomatoes and such, it's like almost like 100%, and it's not because of the idea or the like what it's trying to tell, but it's because of the cinematography and how everything's set up, and it was like groundbreaking for the time. This was like early in the 1900s, like 1910s. The first film played in the White House was that Nation, and Woodrow Wilson watched it.
Oh, wow, I didn't know.
Yeah, it was the first film played in the White House. But it's like a racist movie. All right, here's something that I'm sure, very popular question. When's the last time you've yelled at a student, or in general?
This morning.
Oh, really?
No. We were
Not
waiting-
like
you waited
10
like-
years ago.
Oh, okay,
I'm
all right,
joking.
good. I mean, you told us that when
Like
you get really angry, you speak in the third person.
That's a warning. That's
That's a warning. So when you yell,
that I don't want to refer to myself in third person.
Yeah. Ever gotten to the point where you raised your voice at them?
No, I don't think so.
Really?
I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure it's happened. I've been teaching for close to 20 years. Maybe in the early years.
You just had to learn to let it go.
Nothing is that important.
Yeah, to make them upset, probably make yourself. You'll probably not feel good about it later or whatever.
And I also have to consider all the other people. No one wants to listen
To
an adult yell.
Yeah, chewing at
That
other
doesn't
students.
solve anything.
All right. I think that's a good place to end this. I'd like to thank everyone who made this possible, to people who donated hardware and allow us, software and otherwise, making this happen. I'd like to thank our class president for getting the ball rolling. Of course, thank you, Mr. Curran,
Thank you to Daniel Abbott.
for being the inspiration for this podcast and agreeing to do it.
Do I get final cut?
Well, we were thinking if we get some ads on this, we can have like a 50-50 split.
There's a lot of competition for this role. As you can
All right.
see.
All right. Thank you all, and good night.